Greetings, exalted ones.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. I'm Darthmore516, and in today's video I'm doing a BOBA FETT guide for HVV, and I will touch on some Galactic Assault points down the line. But primarily this is designed for HVV because I don't see many people use him in Galactic Assault, so HVV will be the main focus in today's video. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing you should know about BOBA FETT is if you play him just to run and hide, then you are making the biggest mistake of your life. Because what people assume about BOBA FETT is that he's only good for just using the rocket barrage and just flying away and hiding somewhere where the enemy team can't get to you. That is true to a sense, but there is a better way to use him, and I'm here to basically tell you and show you how that can be done. So for those of you who don't know his abilities, for any new players, I'm just going to quickly touch on them on the screen here. So on the left, the L1 for the PS4, we have BOBA FETT's concussion rocket, which it basically dazes enemies caught in the blast. So basically on their screen it will blind them for momentarily. For the hunt is in the middle with L1 and R1. I don't remember the controls for the PS4 and Xbox, so I will just ignore that. So what it does is it reveals enemies for a short period of time, and which BOBA FETT also disappears from enemy radars, and he has unlimited jetpack fuel for that time the ability is used. So for Galactic Assault and HVV, this can be very good for figuring out your enemy's next move, also giving you a chance to be a little stealthy, which I think that can work in BOBA FETT's favour. If you combine that with the concussion rocket, that can really come in handy. Now R1 is the ability that everyone loves as BOBA FETT, and that's just basically BOBA FETT launching heaps of rockets at any target from his gauntlet, which is basically like his wrist rockets sort of thing. Okay, so those are the abilities. Some definite tips is BOBA's not someone you want to just be too aggressive with. Like he's not Vader or anything where you can just charge in and just shoot anyone, or he's definitely not Chewbacca. But if you play him aggressive, not aggressive, that's the wrong word. If you play him strategically, you can actually do quite a lot of damage. So first off, what you'd want to do is learn to be able to maneuver around the map well, figure out where your enemies are going. But the most important thing you'd want to do is be able to know how to avoid damage from other heroes. So, sorry about my gameplay here, I'm just mucking around while I'm trying to discuss what's happening. So, what you'd want to do is figure out when the enemy heroes are using their abilities or how they can damage you. So for instance, you'd want to keep in mind that Chewie can shoot you out of the air and you can fall over. So being able to maneuver around someone like Chewie is really important, especially people who can damage you out of the air as well. So Finn's aimbot is Deadeye, and Lando's Sharpshot, you can take damage that way. Also you can be pushed out by Luke and just mind tricked by Race, and Detonite Charge with Han, that can make you fall over. So there's a lot of things that can damage BOBA quite easily. He is pretty fragile, so meaning he can take damage really easily, and that's something you really need to take into consideration when playing as BOBA FETT. So the best thing you'd really want to do is be able to maneuver around the map how you can. Don't always rely on the jetpack just to get around. Sometimes it's better to shoot at them with like equal ground. But primarily, without his jetpack, people usually assume that he's in trouble. But what you'd want to do is be able to maneuver around the map how you can. Get the high ground when you can, you know, we all love the high ground, right? Any Star Wars fan out there. Oops, yeah, sorry, it's hard to describe without actually playing HVV, but use the For the Hunt and the concussion missile pretty close together. So what you'd want to do is go off the enemy radar briefly, get a scan of where they are. So if you can see someone like Chewie or anyone coming around the corner, you can quickly get For the Hunt off, get a concussion at them, and begin to quickly do your work. Sometimes the first few hits that you do on a hero can be the difference between life and death for you, and that could be even the difference between winning a match. So what you want to do, if you can't use your rocket barrage when you blind them, like concuss them with your rocket, The best thing to do is to quickly get some shots off with your EE3. The biggest tip for that gun is to aim for the head, because headshots can actually do quite a lot of damage. But what you want to really get used to be really good at BOBA FETT, is to actually shoot while you're in the air, so be able to hover around, shoot like this. So if you want to conserve fuel while you do this, one of the best things to do is just fly up and tap. Don't hold it there because that conserves more fuel, so tap when you need to. Obviously do that when your For the Hunt's not activated, otherwise you can, because when that's activated you can fly there a little longer. So when you're in the air, just tap it a bit more, conserve your fuel. Oh, hello. Aim for the head whenever you can, so get used to doing that on the ground and in the air. As we all know, for any game, shooting game that you play, headshots always do the most damage. Excuse me. So yeah, anyone can stand on the ground and learn to shoot with BOBA FETT, but unless you're moving around a lot on the ground using these dashes, like the aerial class can do, you're not going to get very far. Unless you're in a quickly covered position like this and you quickly get a few shots off. Sometimes when you're low on health and pinned down and you don't want to fly out recklessly, sometimes that can be a way to go. Is there anyone here? Because I want to try and quickly show an example in this actual match, but I think you get the idea. So anywhere that's quickly covered, here we go. So while you take damage, you quickly pop out, get a few shots off. Make sure you aim, as I said, make sure you aim for the head at all times, and you'll get some really good damage there. Because what people forget is the BOBA FETT can actually do really good damage with his EE3. You can't just rely solely on the rocket barrage, because if you do that, you will not get very far. Obviously, one thing that's really important is not only just shooting with your EE3 in the air, but actually getting your rocket barrages to actually hit the enemy in the air. Okay, so there are a lot of different options for BOBA FETT star cards which can help you do that. So obviously, any jetpack star card can be really handy. Like I use this one, fuel efficiency, so when flying his jetpack burns slower, and for someone who likes to get the high ground, shoot in the air with your barrage and your EE3, that's definitely a way to go. In HVV, usually, oh, that was for a different thing. Usually having death from above, I like to do, or anti-hero rockets, but I like to use this one because BOBA FETT can be so fragile and a lot of things can shoot him out of the air. This one's just additional rockets, so fires faster and there's more rockets. I wouldn't worry about these two cards too much unless you're in Galactic Assault, where you want to help your team out with revealing enemies for yourself and them. And that's obviously a longer duration there. Concussion missiles, like the 2 seconds extra duration's not really much longer. I'm assuming that means extra. But and that one's Blaster Disabler. If you really go against a lot of blaster heroes, maybe Galactic Assault, that might be okay, but there probably are some better cards out there. So ideally you'd want to have, perhaps if you like flying around a lot, these two cards here are probably the most handy. And obviously I think the Intense Barrage can work in a lot of game modes, so Galactic Assault and Heroes vs Villains or Hero Showdown, that can really be handy there. But as I was saying before I just died mucking around here, what you want to be able to do is actually learn to hit the barrages really well. So what you want to be able to do, Kanan, hey, Kanan, no! Oh my god, sorry, hey, quiet. I'm sorry about that, guys. Okay, he's probably not gonna be quiet, so you're gonna have to bear with me here. Okay, so what I was trying to say is what you'd want to be able to do is learn to actually be able to fire his rocket barrage at your enemy, but from different flying angles. So whether it's straight this way, where I'm going, so if you're firing it toward him, doing it down, or if you're flying sideways. So I'll show that quickly here. So if you're doing it like this, that's a good way to go, especially when there's a lot of enemy heroes in that line, and you quickly want to get a quick hit on an enemy target. You know what, guys? My bird's being an absolute pain right now. I didn't really want him to sing during this recording, so I'm just gonna wait till he stops singing, and I'll continue the guide from there. I apologize for that, so bear with me. Okay, that's really awkward for me, guys, because it turns out he stopped singing like the second after I said I'd get him to stop singing, so that's a bit ironic there. So as I was saying, what you'd want to do is be able to use your rocket barrage and aim it in different ways, so whether you're going straight down or sideways. I wouldn't recommend doing it on the ground very often because it's a lot harder to get the trajectory right. So obviously being able to do it at any angle is important, but actually to aim it wherever the hero is going is even more important. So for example, if they're running away from you this way, what you want to do is lead it on so it actually hits them. Easier said than done, but being able to aim it is really important. What I am going to do though, I've still got a few more points to cover, so I'm going to restart this game real quick, so I'll continue on from there. Okay guys, I'm back in another game, so I'm continuing where I left off. So as I was talking about being able to figure out where the rocket barrage goes, as you see there, I've got a lot of good kills there. Obviously it's a lot harder to do that with infantry in actual online games because they probably have more health. But yeah, being able to figure out where your barrage goes is really important. Basically with BOBA, as I've talked about, he's fragile, so any advantage you can get on your enemy is really important. And look, for those of you who do like to usually hide as BOBA FETT, to a degree there's nothing wrong with that, but what I would suggest is like there's a big difference between a tactical retreat and actually flying away the entire time when you're the enemy target, when you're the target in like HVV game mode. So what I mean by this, if you're taking damage and there's like a few heroes near you, you can quickly fly wherever you need to go. If you need to fly to your teammates or to a better position, that's completely fine, but by you flying away for most of the time and hiding, you're actually doing a disservice to your teammates. Because as I've been trying to say in this video, BOBA FETT can do more damage than you realise. Look, I've touched enough on the barrages here. I want to quickly have a few extra tips for the EE3. Obviously, shoot for the head, which is really important. Again, try and avoid damage, so wherever they're shooting, just don't stay in one place for too long. So if you need to fly up and down anywhere or dash, fly backwards, you can do that. But one thing I really noticed is definitely flying backwards can help against the lightsaber heroes like Luke and Rey. So what you can do is usually they have to obviously get close up to you to actually kill you. So if they're charging at you, get a few hits in while they come at you. If they're block, don't shoot too often, just wait for them to get rid of their block because they can just deflect shots back at you. So what you'd want to do is if they're charging at you, pop them in the head a few times. They tend to like to jump at you for some reason, and whenever they jump anywhere, whether they're fleeing from you or actually trying to kill you, get a few shots in, because I've seen a lot of lightsaber heroes do that, and that's actually really stupid. So I'm just standing here waiting for them to come at me so I can get a few shots off. They jump up in the air, don't know why they do that, but anyway, they jump up and you get a few shots off, and they'll be thinking, where the hell's all their health gone? So whenever they're charging at you anyway, get a few shots off. If you're not one that likes to be too aggressive, what you can do is still play like a support role, kind of like what Aiden does. Just shoot from a distance. Obviously use your jetpack to your advantage, but one thing you can do, if any hero's in a battle with like a lightsaber villain or blaster villain or hero, I mean, what you can do is go maneuver to the other side of them. So say, for example, Vader and Luke are in the battle here, and Luke's on the other side of me. What you can do is maneuver around while they're battling and just shoot from the other side. And what that will do is that will force them to actually have to counter both of you, and it's hard for them to do that when you're both in different sides of him. Because a lot of players don't try to counter both of you, they usually just try and battle one of you, and it might force them to make a decision that they don't want to make, so that, like, they may be forced to flee, and you can use that to your favour instantly. So that's very handy. Look, I think I've touched on a lot of really good points. I'm going to quickly go over some Galactic Assault stuff. But before I do that though, I am going to link one of my past Boba Fett videos where I played HVV, because I think it's a little bit easier for you guys to actually see the gameplay firsthand. Like, you take into account some of the tips and suggestions I've made, then you can watch my gameplay and then you'll see what I mean, because sometimes I find visual aid a little bit easier, which I think some of you might as well. So that will be in the description of this video, because it's a very long video. I put several games into the actual video, for like 4 of them, that goes to like 40 or 50 minutes or something. You don't have to watch all of them, but it'll give you a good idea of what you can do. I think in those games, the most I died in one match was like 2 to 3 times or something, or maybe 4. So if you play Boba the right way and use some of the tips I've suggested, you'll really be at a good advantage for your teammates. Before I wrap up this video for you guys, I want to quickly touch on some Galactic Assault tips, and obviously I think it's fair to say you can't be very aggressive with Boba. You're going to have to take into account the fact that he's still very fragile, and there'll be a lot more different things to shoot him, so vehicles, infantry, heroes, and whatever abilities they have, or star cards that they use. So obviously you'd want to play it a lot more smart when you use Boba. Use your For the Hunt when you can, because they won't see you on the radar for that period of time. So whether you need to fly somewhere, quickly get a few sneaky kills on them, or just to find a way to flank, wouldn't be such a bad idea. One thing you definitely don't want to do with Boba Fett is actually push the objective by yourself, because like I said, he's very fragile and that won't get anywhere with him. You're better off leaving that to your infantry or someone like Vader or Bosk who can push the objective. If you can find a way to get in a good position near an objective, or to actually kill the enemy team around you while the rest of your teammates push the objective, that would be a good idea for you. Obviously, again with Boba, you have to take it really smart, and don't just recklessly charge in, because he doesn't have a health regen star card yet, so once you lose any max health, you're going to lose it. So, but whatever the case, whether it's HVV or Galactic Assault, and if you're losing a bit of health, don't panic too much. Like for example, look at my health now, as I'm just mucking around here talking to you. Don't panic too much, because you can actually still do some damage if you play it smart. Get a few headshots, use your barrage and your abilities when you can to surprise the enemy and flank them. You can do just fine. Anyways guys, I think that's enough for me talking. You've heard my voice long enough today. I am going to link that video in the description again, so you can see how Boba works in HVV. Galactic Assault, you can just use some similar points, points that I've made, and you should do just fine there. Obviously practice is everything, so you're not going to get it right with him straight away. Like, I've had a lot of time playing Boba Fett, so it's all practice and getting used to the way you maneuver with him. If you need to adjust your sensitivity or whatnot, go ahead, but it all takes practice, and if you follow some of my tips, I guarantee you will be a lot better in the future for it. Anyways guys, that's going to do it for the video today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
May the Force be with you, always.
The Sith are all powerful.